What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk about, so I was running some numbers. So this is kind of interesting to sort of put things into perspective. So if we take the Steam blockchain, I checked out, I ran the numbers of what would 1% revenue of Facebook be? And it comes down to around $2 million per day. So for Steem blockchain to give out that, if you look at the so-called reward pool, it's around 800,000 Steem, and I know there are some things that go to certain places, but if we, for example, just run with that number, then it would, to be 1% of Facebook revenue, it would need to give out, if we, let's say, would give out the revenue to the users, like what would be something kind of similar in value? Well, it would be $17 Steem. That would be around $2 million a day that is getting out to people in the ecosystem. At the moment, it is around 15,000 that is sort of going out. If we make it a little bit easier to sort of understand, and we know it's been up to around $5. I saw even $8 for in January 2018. So we can see then it was up pretty, it wasn't 1%, but it was a third of a percent. But of course, that was just a short while. But it still is very, very fascinating because that was just a little bit of a quick blip. And $17 Steem. If we've been up to $8, I mean 17. It's not that far away. So this is kind of interesting when you look at this technology. So many people are just gonna look at, well, many people just gonna look at the user thing, while I look at more about the technologies getting improved and faster and faster and faster. And with those devices, you can build faster devices and faster devices and faster devices and faster devices. So what people thought was a big thing was like, no, we can actually do this like fairly easy. It's like, it's fine. So $17 Steem would be around $2 million per day, or $1.8 million in a reward pool daily. And that would be 1% of Facebook revenue. And the revenue, as I did in another video, was 17.65 billion for Q3 2019. But and people look at this, probably people look at Facebook as something super impressive, but it's something that would be impressive if you actually empowered people, then you actually get a higher return eventually. I mean, when I kind of consider this, because clearly if you can share the pool with more people that actually should have the value, then eventually you're gonna get an ecosystem that runs itself. And that's kind of like what is in the works here. Of course, something that also people are gonna realize is they probably will need less, like when more people move into better financial systems, they, even though they can make more value, they probably also gonna realize that for the basic needs, they probably will need to spend less energy. That will say in some ways also, many people, they they will need less value to do the same things as they already are doing in terms of an energy spend perspective. So that's kind of interesting. It kind of frees people up, and it's kind of cool to see what can happen when you free people up. They have more time to do research and development and sort of observe the world, and humans have sort of time to do something different compared to the stuff that they did in the past. So a recurring trend in human history has been that once machines start doing something, humans start doing something else. They start to do something else, and humans' ideas of what a human being should do I mean, that idea is always fragile. Like people always sort of starting to do something new, and ideas change rather quickly. How people look at the world. Same as I talked about yesterday in a video about that. Sound is basically a geometric figures. So when I'm making sound, geometric figures are coming out of my mouth. The whole universe is by geometry. These geometric figures constantly are in sync with everything else, and it sort of updates everything. So that's kind of fascinating. So when humans start to do some different things, you see, you can observe changes in the world. So, and you can see that new possibilities can arise that people never even had a concept of before. Like they didn't even have a concept for it. So so just as if you go back 100 years ago, they did not have a concept of a smartphone because it looks that looks quite mysterious, to be honest. Same as in 100 years, they're gonna look probably back at us as, whoa, they, or if we go 100 years in the future and they're not working, we would say, whoa, that's so mysterious, that's so magical, you don't have to work. But in the future, it's gonna be like, well, we're looking at the cosmos. We're looking at the cosmos. We're going to the cosmos, and they're gonna look at it as a joke that humans were sort of doing so much basic acts on the world in 2019, and that they couldn't. They would probably look at us as, oh, those people were so much stuck in memory, stuck in a loop, always doing sort of the same sort of nonsense. Can't see their own sort of ignorance. And then in 2020, 2300, they're probably going to look back at, oh, those people back then, they were not that intelligent. We can already see this. So if we go back in history, we see these amazing stuff that people built. We can see that they knew some stuff that we do not even know right now. Like they were pretty bright creatures. So you can see how this sort of goes in cycles. Uh, so that's creation. That's creation for you. But yeah, it was interesting to run the numbers. And like if people just looking at the numbers, they may forget that human behavior also changes as numbers go up. Like people become more motivated. So it's not just the price, you have an added boost of energy. An added boost of energy in how humans are relating to a particular type of technology. So when the price goes up, maybe the price goes up 100%. Well, humans are going to change their behavior then, and you probably are not taking that calculation into consideration. So people usually just look at the price and they do not consider the added momentum of sort of people having buy-in and people having or doing sort of amazing stuff. Like so that compounds it rather fast, and at the same time this can compound in both directions. I mean, something can crash. We've seen that. We're gonna see it many more times in the future. So that makes humans a little bit more humble, where they sort of realize that well, it's not just a numbers game. How humans are relating with technology is a big thing. So we sort of have to pay attention to how humans are sort of, we have to care about humans, have to sort of see what they're doing and sort of try to guide them in sort of the right way, no, the right path. No, we shouldn't go down that sort of direction again, where people are saying, "Oh, I have the right answer. You should come here. You should come here." No, we should just try to encourage people to use their own sort of intelligence, and then they're probably gonna make better and better choices eventually if they're using their own intelligence. We don't have to add more intelligence to them. We just have to, I don't know, like make them realize they're intelligent, and make them use their own intelligence. But we don't have to get on a path. They probably, if you're doing amazing stuff, eventually people are gonna come. Yeah. So 1% of Facebook revenue, that would be pretty cool. So I mean, if you get that amazing momentum eventually, you could probably can go then very very fast to 10% or 5% of Facebook revenue, and then 10%. So these exponential growth curves, really interesting stuff to study. And you also have this added momentum where humans in sort of the old paradigm, they're not really motivated that much to do so much stuff in that paradigm. But if they see a new paradigm that looks like freedom, then a lot of them are gonna work. Like they're gonna try. They're gonna try to do some stuff because it's like they find a door, with well, it's like they're in a locked room now. Then they find a door, and they have a key, and in there they have a new paradigm that sort of looks like freedom. And a lot of people are gonna work a little bit harder when they see that, because who knows, maybe it's going to work. So it would be pretty epic if Steem went up to 1% of Facebook revenue. I think a lot more people will start to pay attention to Steem blockchain then again, and I hope that happens. It can be fascinating to see. Yeah, have a great day, DTube and Steem blockchain. Bye bye.